Good morning. Nice to see you again. Um, I'm on a little deviation from Luke's Gospel today again. I'm just thinking about this weekend. It's Saturday today, and it's the weekend. And on Monday, um, restrictions will get tighter again for us all in the number of people who are allowed to meet, and we just don't know where it will lead. We hope it won't lead to a strict lockdown that we had right at the beginning when all the shops closed and everything else. We hope that most of the shops will stay open. We don't know. We don't know what the effect of children going to school will have on the situation, and there's argument again about the effect of the negotiations with Brexit. Everything's in turmoil again, and I just felt this morning, as I was asking the Lord, what thought could I bring to encourage you today and to encourage myself, because I'm in need of it at the moment. And the words that came to me was, "He is my rock and my salvation," and it comes up in a number of places, that phrase. But I'm looking today at Psalm 62. Read the whole psalm if you have time, but Psalm 62 says in verse 5, "For God alone my soul waits in silence, for my hope is from him. He only is my rock and my salvation, my fortress, I shall not be shaken. On God rests my deliverance and my honour. My mighty rock, my refuge is God. Trust in him at all times, O people. Pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for us." So, this is my encouragement to you and to myself today, that the only thing that is certain, absolutely rock solid and certain in our lives is God. He is our rock and our salvation. He is our high tower, our fortress. He is the absolutely dependable person in our lives. Everything else might fail. Everything else might go pear-shaped. Everything else might disappear from our lives. But he is the constant. He is the unshakable one. And he is the one who delivers us from all our problems. And we can trust in him at all times. And this verse 8 says, "Pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for us." And perhaps this is a time simply to do that. Whatever's going on in your heart, however you're responding to what's going on in the world. And perhaps yesterday was a difficult day for many of us, because we remember that it was the anniversary yesterday of the great and terrible day in 2001 when the Twin Towers in New York were destroyed and so many people lost their lives. A terrible, terrible event. And like, excuse me, like so many terrible events that have happened in our lives, we can remember exactly where we were when we heard about what had happened. And yesterday they were commemorating the loss of some 3,000 people in that terrible disaster. And sometimes we have to pour out our heart to God, tell him how we feel about things, tell him why things are so difficult, tell him what it's doing to us, and lean on him and trust him. Trust him in every situation, even the worst situations in our lives. I'm not going to go into the ones that I've faced. I've faced quite a few. But when you have an international disaster day like yesterday, lots of people are feeling it at the same time. But God is the one. For God alone, my soul waits in silence. For some of us, it's hard to put into words how we feel. And sometimes we think we shouldn't put our thoughts and feelings into words, because it's not quite right to say that to God. But God has very broad shoulders, and he understands. He knows. He knows all about it, and he understands. For God alone my soul waits in silence. When we've nothing left to say, we can wait on the Lord, and he will come. He will meet with us. He will comfort us. He will strengthen us. He will encourage us. He will be our deliverance, and he will be the one who we know to be our mighty rock, our refuge. So today, that's my thought for today, that whatever you think may be coming, or whatever has come and has been very difficult to deal with, there is one solid, sure foundation in our lives, and that is God. And we can trust him. We can trust him because he is Lord of this life and of eternity. And even those we've lost, we meet them in his presence, and we can give thanks that he is safely caring for those we love, and he will bring righteousness to bear on everything, even the things that have turned out completely the wrong way to what we think they should have. Now, that's a bad bit of English, but forgive me. But so these verses are very dear to me. For God alone my soul waits in silence, for my hope is from him. He is the one who gives us hope for the future. Whatever has happened, whatever is happening, whatever will happen, we don't need to be afraid, because we are planted and have foundations in the rock, and our house will stand whatever the buffeting that comes. He is our rock. He is our hope for the future. He is the one we can trust at all times. So I encourage you today to put your trust afresh today in God and in Jesus and in his Holy Spirit to lead us and guide us and to strengthen us for whatever difficulties lie ahead of us, that God will help us through them and he will be all we need. We had a preacher in our church, didn't we, the beginning of the year, February, I think, time, and his sermon was centered on the idea of Jesus is enough. Jesus is enough. We don't need anything else if we have Jesus in our lives. Have a great day. Have a great day. Be blessed. Look up, not down. I know I was a bit depressed yesterday. I was a bit low, and my daughter gave me a very wonderful bit of advice. She said, we should go back to what we were doing at the beginning of the lockdown, and that is deciding on what we were going to do in that day, what we were going to achieve, setting our sights on something so we had something to occupy ourselves rather than mooching around. And that's perhaps what we need to do in this fresh season of more lockdown, is to actually give ourselves tasks to do. So there was a bush in our garden yesterday that got a severe haircut, and Terry and I did it together, and it really lifted our spirits to be working and putting our hands to something. Well, God bless you. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.